So the final whistle has not long gone at Anfield. It finishes Liverpool 2, Manchester United 2, ESPN FC Live. My name is Mark Donaldson. I'm joined today by Janusz Michallik, by Miguel Echegaray, and by Gab Marcotti to break down events that happened at Anfield. Janusz Michallik, let's start with you. What did we learn today from a game that most people expected a comfortable home win?
Pressure of the game, right? I mean, if there was ever a time where Liverpool were bigger favorites, I know that in the years past this has happened as well, right? To draw 0-0 here at Anfield a couple of seasons ago. We always talk about these games bringing something extra for the players on both sides, and I think we saw a little bit of that at play. But I thought this was a big opportunity miss for Liverpool. I thought for 60 minutes, it was a total no-show by Liverpool in so many different ways, individually and as a team. I think that Manchester United definitely deserves something out of this game, even though they obviously could have lost all 3 points at one stage late in the second half. But I think tactically they were well set up, and Liverpool really had no answers. In the end, I think deserved draw in so many ways, even though the chance is very, very late. And you can always talk about them as, one for Manchester United from Harry Maguire, or, Gakpo's header, and that could have gone either way. But deserved for Manchester United getting a point, and an opportunity missed for Liverpool to give themselves a little bit of a cushion, or more cushion, I should say.
Yeah. Harry Maguire might not sleep tonight with that late chance set up by Xerxes. So there's plenty to get to. We'll get to Elimi in just a second. But Gab, Janusz said pressure. Was it pressure on Liverpool? Was it complacency? It's Man United. They haven't been great of late, and Liverpool have been flying. What was it that contributed, as Janusz quite rightly said, to a horrible Liverpool performance for the first hour?
That's $1 million question. And I mean, lame as it sounds, I think it could be possibly a bit of all those things. I throw something else in there too. Mm-hmm. This Liverpool side, Arne Slot, they really hasn't rotated very much at all this season. It's generally been the same guys, especially in key positions. I think of Gravenberch playing almost every game this season. Van Dijk's been there pretty much throughout. Of course, Konate was injured and then came back. But Salah's been in there. I think he started every game, if I'm not mistaken, this season. And I think, it's not like people get tired all of a sudden, but there are going to be games when, maybe suddenly you don't have the same intensity. And against most opponents, that's fine. And I think the way Slot plays perhaps is also less taxing than, the way they played under Jurgen Klopp. But then when one or two things aren't there, then suddenly you don't get the breaks and you struggle, especially against a United side that I thought were really, really well organized. I thought Ugarte, maybe his best performance in a Manchester United shirt. Diallo, not really a surprise for anyone. And you miss that sharpness, and all of a sudden you're a goal down in the second half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Elimi, I want to talk a couple of things Liverpool defensively, because when Arne Slot said a couple of days ago that Joe Gomez has been out for a few weeks because he's picked up a knock, it was beneficial that Ibrahima Konate was back in training, but he wasn't 100% today. But that was the obvious one. And if he was 50%, you probably played Jarell Quansah, but he played Konate, and him alongside Van Dijk earlier in the season when they were both 100%. They were both excellent together. But here's something that a few of the journalists tweeted out midway through the second half. And it was calls from Liverpool supporters around the press box to say to Trent Alexander-Arnold, hey, if you don't want to be here, go to Madrid. His performance today, he looked like just someone that was in the wrong movie. So what do you say about the defending today from Liverpool, and also about Trent's future? Because that isn't going to be acceptable between now and the end of the season from Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, great question. And I actually posted it on Threads during that game. I thought Trent Alexander-Arnold played terribly. And far be it from me from wanting to cause telenovelas left, right, and center. But I do think that the noise outside of what's happening in the training ground and his future may have resulted in such. It was a horrible game from TAA. And I think part of it was also Manchester United waking up. I thought it was Ruben Amorim's leadership that took into a Manchester United side that I thought played very well. But I thought Trent Alexander-Arnold didn't do himself any favors today. The issue with the centre-back pairing, obviously Virgil van Dijk on one side and then coming in for Ibrahim Konate, is that, yes, because by the end of that game, you saw that Ibrahim Konate was done. He just really was absolutely done. But Arne Slot decided to go with the best pairing he thought from both a statistical perspective and a talent perspective. And I think that it showed off because Konate clearly, after having missed out due to injury for so long, there were holes there for Manchester United to exploit. I will say this, though, and I agree. I think Liverpool struggled for the majority of this game, but I think it had more to do with the fact that I think Manchester United finally woke up and realized what they needed to do under Amorim. I agree with Gab Marcotti. I thought Manuel Ugarte was phenomenal today. If you look at some of the stats he did specifically in those first 65 minutes, he was wonderful. I thought Bruno Fernandes, he's at his best when he's a creative Swiss Army knife, and at the same time, he's battling for everything. And that's exactly what he did today. Amad Diallo has been Ruben Amorim's best player since Amorim arrived, I thought, as well. So I think that collectively, they made it very difficult for Liverpool. It's not to say that Liverpool obviously had some self-inflicted wounds, but I think it's also a credit to what United did. But going back to your question, yes, Trent Alexander-Arnold really needs to figure out what he wants to do this season, right, regardless of what happens in the future.
Janusz, what did Manchester United do well today that they've not done well lately?
Well, first and foremost, and I want to say it before, I don't think they just defended, right? Because they defended well. Obviously, they held possession. They were dangerous on the counterattack. But today, if Manchester United just defended and got a result, nobody would have said anything, right? So it was a little bit easier because Manchester United have issues when they open up, and and the expectations will be for that. So today, they knew. I think they had a pass in a way. No matter how they got a result, nobody's going to say it because Ruben Amorim and everybody else for a decade now wants Manchester United to play a little bit, and that's the promise of Ruben Amorim, right? I want to see if they can get up for a game like this against Southampton and Brighton, right? We've seen the results. We've seen them play against other teams where they try to play, but unfortunately in transition and defensive they have issues. So today, obviously, they had that pass to say we're going to Anfield. We're certainly not favorites. And as I've said, 5 in the bag. But I think, as you guys have said, Ugarte and Mainu, but also the role of Amad Diallo and Bruno Fernandes, who are pinching in, coming inside. So in that midfield, aside from McAllister, nobody functioned in any way. I mean, there's so many players. I mean, McAllister is probably the only player that functioned. Luis Diaz, no show, right? Hakpo, until the goal, nothing from him for the most part. I mean, he was busy, but not with quality. Where do you want to go? Curtis Jones? I mean, 0 from Curtis Jones for 60 minutes. So I think in that midfield, they didn't allow Liverpool to get in their flow. They didn't allow the crowd to get into it. There was never breaks. The game was slow. And if anything, it was Manchester United who, on the side of Trent Alexander-Arnold had, did just about anything they could have done the entire game.
Gab, the last time that Manchester United went to Anfield to play Liverpool in the Premier League, it was an absolute dog of a game. But you can understand why, because the time before they'd lost by 7-0. But this was a little bit different today, because all three of you so far have already spoken about Man United's ambition today and what's changed a little bit. And let's get to the opening goal, because at that stage, Konate's kind of playing two positions because Trent's gone forward. It's a misplaced pass. And you've got Lisandro Martinez, a centre-back, who scores the goal from the assist by Bruno Fernandes. It's a great finish. They've capitalised on a weak area in Liverpool's defence, but they probably weren't going to get anything today if they'd gone with the same tactics they did the last time when they drew 0-0. So was this a case of fortune favours the brave?
No, I mean, I think last time around, I believe Erik ten Hag was the manager, coming closer towards the, a lot of us assumed he'd be gone in the summer. I think we can't overstate the fact that these are a bunch of players who are, I want to say playing for their jobs, but playing for minutes. And I think, you're going to be less conservative. I mean, you're not playing with house money because I think all these guys know that they need to get results. They need to move up the table. But as Janusz said, you're away at Anfield. And you don't just get points for a dreary 0-0 draw. You get points, metaphorically, with the manager for showing that you get what Amorim wants to do, for showing that you are understanding his style of football, you've metabolized it, that you're going to be part of his plans going forward. And I think that psychologically, I think that's a tremendous boost than, last time around when, maybe they're just like, all right, let's not get humiliated here. And I think Amorim, there's no question, even while United have often played poorly since he's come in, he's certainly given them the lift, right? And I think that was a big part of it. And also, you couldn't help yourself there, but you had to pick on poor old Trent once again. I just want to say this.
Deserve to be picked on today, Gab. Oof.
Well, look, it sounds like he's going to be scapegoated, and rightly so. But he's played like this defensively for the last 4 years. We cannot have it both ways. We can't have the stat nerds come out and say, oh, Trent Alexander-Arnold, 47 million goal involvements and his expected assists and all this nonsense, when we can see the games and we can see that he's often out of position. He doesn't read the ball well. He gave the ball away there. And it's made worse this year as well because, you mentioned Konate being back from injury. Andy Robertson is starting to show his age as well. And has been for the last 6 months. I don't see why people are tying. I've said this all along. Like, I don't see why people should tie themselves up in knots over Trent. You go to him, you make him an offer. They have enough nerds upstairs in Michael Edwards and his crew that can tell you exactly. All right, this is what Trent Alexander-Arnold at 27, 5-year contract, whatever it is. This is what we think he's going to be worth for us, because you're not paying people for what they've done in the past. You're paying them for what you think they can do in the future. Make him the offer. If he doesn't like it, then he can go. He can knock at Real Madrid's door. He can get his people to go and do whatever he wants. And you should take, by the way, you should take the same attitude with the other two guys, Salah and Van Dijk, right? Not this sign them up at any price nonsense, because that is your team's demise. But weigh them up. Connor Bradley, if you want a different profile of right back, he's right there and he can do a job for you, and he's already there. And let's not turn this into some big drama and assume that, Trent is unsettled. I don't know if he's unsettled. He's played like this for, like I said, most of the last 5 years. He's good going forward.
Not like this. Not today. Like this, not like this. Today he was bad. I agree with you that I think that, let's analyze and realize the fact that Trent Alexander-Arnold is one particular type of player and he offers a particular type of qualities for Liverpool. We have known the pluses and the minuses. Today he was bad and he deserves all the criticism because it wasn't just about being off position. It was also about really mindless passing as well. I'm not saying that it's not going to, suddenly improve for him in the next game. He's Trent Alexander-Arnold. We have talked over and over again just how good he is and why he deserves to be in the mention of other clubs like Real Madrid, et cetera, et cetera. I just think that today, and I'm sure that others agree, today he was not just not good, he was very, very bad. And I mean, okay, fine, we want to add the melodramatics and say that maybe is it the things that are happening outside of the pitch that are causing this to happen? We'll have to wait and see because there's other matches to come. But today, we can definitely categorically say that he was terrible.
You're both right, by the way. No, you're both right in a way. I just be careful a little bit because, today it wasn't good. It started with the goal. What happened on the goal? I mean, it was two mistakes from Trent Alexander-Arnold, not just one, because initially he gets beat by Diallo one-on-one down the line, right? And then he recovers, gets the ball back, and that clearance obviously, right, is not good. It keeps Manchester United where they are, and that's why Lisandro Martinez finds himself in a situation saying, wait a second here, because otherwise he would have to been on his bike on the way there if Trent plays the ball that you normally expect him to play. So he deserved the criticism. But let's also not say, and I hear Gab, but the context, obviously, we're talking here, can't take forever on this one, but he's been better this year, even defensively, right? Arne Slot simplified his role. Remember with Klopp last year, they were trying to play him inside and all that stuff. I didn't think that helped him. He hasn't been bad. Going forward, he's been good. And Gab is right in the sense that you pay for the future. So I wouldn't give Trent anything that he wants, right? Because you do have Bradley, and at some stage you have to say, yeah, is that really worth it? But let's not forget, I think we all feel that if Trent is on the pitch in those massive matches, other than Salah, he's the only player that I can say, you know what? he can make it happen. Either get a draw or a winning by playing a ball. I mean, he is a special player. There's no two ways about that. And I'm here. I'm with you on those stats, Gab. But I mean, you have to at some stage look at him and say I mean, this season he's probably him and Salah are top of the league, right, in terms of creating goal scoring situations. That's what Liverpool's all about. I mean, they need to attack, and he's a big part of it. But I'm with you. He needs to clarify that. I wouldn't pay just anything to keep Trent at Liverpool. So
I just chuck in. You mentioned stats there. Something else, right? We've been saying Alexander-Arnold was awful. Robertson was awful. Konate was unfit. Diaz contributed nothing. Jones contributed nothing. Gakpo, other than the goal, didn't do much. I was looking at this. Liverpool's expected goals in this game were 2.87.
Yeah.
So take the De Ligt gift. He's had that in him going back to Juventus, where I think he gave away he's in double digits for penalties given away via handballs one season. Still, with so many big players playing badly and United playing well, you still generate more than 2 expected goals without
that's
counting
the last 2 minutes, Gab, though, right? That last 2 minutes. I mean, those last 2 minutes, 2 big chances for Liverpool and Maguire. You could have said, well, they didn't score. Maguire should have finished it, and thank you very much, 3-2. I hear, but it was close. It was McAllister in the first half, and then who for Manchester United. I mean, those are 2 chances for almost the entire game until the goals came in, right?
No. I mean, but what I'm saying is, I'm just in terms of Liverpool have the luxury that they can turn it on just even for a small spurt, right, late in the game, and come so close and force that save that we saw from Onana. I think it was off of Bradley late in the game at the near post and stuff like that. So there's still so many solutions there. So there's so many options. I said my overarching concern with Liverpool is that I think too many of these players have already played a lot of minutes this season. And going forward, especially if they advance to the Champions League, they will advance to the Champions League. That is something that could bite them in the backside. I think more so than this business with Salah's contract, Van Dijk's contract, because Slot has dealt with it. He's navigated that fairly well. All these guys know that, I mean, I certainly expect Salah and Van Dijk to return whatever number they put down in front of them. So I think they're actually genuine when they say they're relaxed about it. Trent might be another matter.
Okay, let's return to Anfield. And when we go full screen to LME, Gab can get his I Love Trent t-shirt on. But let's talk about the equalising goal. Liverpool finally woke up eventually, just before the hour mark, LME. And it's a decent goal. It was checked for offside. It was on. Gakpo. At that stage, did you think, well, there's only one winner now? Or did you think, hey, United have done enough up until now that this game's certainly firmly still in the balance after Liverpool equalised?
Probably the former, just because of what we've seen from Liverpool, throughout the course of the season, that once they score, especially at Anfield, you would think that confidence is a builder. I do want to go back to that equaliser, because as much as we're talking about Liverpool and stuff, and Janusz mentioned it earlier, that there was only really one player that stood out today, and that's Alexis McAllister. And in my opinion, he's one of the best center midfielders in Europe right now. He is just wonderful. The things that he does off the ball in terms of protection and working alongside Ryan Gravenberch, but then it's the creative side of it. And that ball he gave to Cody Gakpo was terrific. And obviously Gakpo still has to do a little bit more to score it, but it's just the over-trending narrative of Alexis McAllister, which we've seen ever since people saw his game even at Brighton and obviously right now. But I love what he has given so far this season, specifically in this game, and he beautifully delivered that ball to Cody. And then after that goal, you thought, well, then Liverpool are going to continue and push them through, but it wasn't to be. And I think that I think part of it was also the weather. I know that's probably an escapism thing trying to say, but I think just the situation and what was going on at Anfield today probably impeded them to play as well their best game, which allowed, by the way, United to take advantage there. But I really did think that Liverpool were going to go on trucking. So that's why we keep saying, and that's why I began by saying fair play to Manchester United, because the things that they were doing correctly were the necessities of an Amorim team, which is just like you 50-50, we got to go for it. Try and find the space. We lose ball, we come back. I mentioned Bruno Fernandes. Yes, it's all well and good that you're being creatively sound, but you also got to track back. You also got to give everything that you can. And that's what happened today. So, I said to our producer, Sam, like before everybody jumped on, I actually thought it was one of the best games of the season just because of the narrative of it.
Was.
Yeah, absolutely. You forgot about the first half. But, just from a pure narrative perspective, it was a wonderful back and forth. Obviously, it wasn't perfect, but I think sometimes that's what makes a good game, the imperfection of it all. And Manchester United took advantage.
Well, we certainly, most of us, didn't expect Manchester United to get anything out of the game, both before, but also after they went 2-1 down. Penalty awarded. Janusz, it's the way that the law is written these days. That gets given as a penalty. I know the proximity, but that doesn't actually appear now in the letter of the law. The arms outstretched, the header's on target. Any complaints from you that was eventually given by VAR?
No, the way laws are written right now, that's a definition of a penalty in terms of your hand not being in a natural position. So no, 0.
Well, it's a delete special, Mark Donaldson.
Well, yeah, Gab's already mentioned that. He was quite good at that in Serie A. It's one of these, it goes down, Gab, as a good penalty because he scores. But Onana guess he's right, and he actually dives over the ball. But at that stage, what did you see from Liverpool having turned things around? And what did you expect from them after going 2-1 up, Gab?
Well, I thought it was interesting because it was a few minutes after that he makes a change where he sends on. I mean, literally 2 minutes after that, he sends.
Well, they were ready to come on, weren't they?
And Darwin Núñez, yeah. And I think it shows you that. I mean, maybe I'm psychoanalyzing Slot a little bit too much, but sounds like, all right, we're not playing great. We were just gifted this penalty. We have to go out and really crush them and maybe even gamble a little bit in the last half hour to try to score more goals, to make a statement, to show that first hour that we produced isn't who we are. When I try to explain, and look, I'm sorry, I'm Italian. I'm like, dude, you just took the lead at home. You're playing like garbage. No, take off an attacking player and, give me more Harvey Elliott's or, put on or whatever, right? Move the center of gravity further back. But no, I mean, Slot, I think rightly said, no, we're going to push down. We're going to send on these 2 fresh attackers. They're going to have to chase the game. We're going to punish them. And we're going to add goal number 3 and 4. Now, it didn't happen that way, as we know. But I think that is what his thinking was at that stage, because he knew they had not been playing well.
And again, that's the right decision, I think. That's Liverpool, right? You're at Anfield, you're going to do that. But I also think that, I don't know if he thought that, but at least I did. And I think everybody, including maybe Slot, that, United's not going to get up from that, right? That was the nail in the coffin right there. They don't have it. They've lost, 4 straight in all competitions, 3 straight in the Premier League. They're not a very good team up until today, right? I mean, it still doesn't change maybe the way they are. It's just a one game, but I just think there was an expectation when we went 2-1 that now in front of the cup, we're going to go after it because that's what Liverpool usually does, especially in an opponent like this. The crowd is finally back right into it thinking, okay, this is it. This is going to be likely 3-1 or 4-1 before it becomes 2-2. So that's why, as much as I think it's an opportunity loss, because as you guys know, I think a ton of Arne Slot and Liverpool. I still think they, I don't know what I want to say by far, but feels that way. The best team in the Premier League.
Oh, they are.
For me, I had a huge expectation of an easy win, by the way, for Liverpool in this game. But credit to United because they got up from that. Did you think that actually, regardless of the subs?
What are you chuckling about, Marcotti?
No, it's just funny. You're making it seem as if like it's a controversial take to suggest that Liverpool might be the best team in the Premier League.
I'm not making it seem. I just don't know why we have a discussion that Slot was going to put Kwanzaa on and another midfielder in this game. I don't know where this discussion began. That's why I'm saying. I mean, there's no controversy in who he put on. The thing for me was that the game was done and dusted in everybody's mind, including probably Slot, the Liverpool players, and the fans. And Manchester United unexpectedly not only got up for it, but in the end had a chance to win it. That's what I'm making a point of.
Oh, okay, so in commentary, both this side of the pond and in the United Kingdom, both commentators and analysts were suggesting, you know what, Liverpool are 2-1 up. Take no chances. This is after they've made the changes. Why don't you bring on Quansah for Konate? Because it looked like he was towing a caravan. And then 10 minutes after Liverpool went 2-1 up, he's caught out. He's nowhere near Garnacho, who delivers the ball into the middle, and Diallo scores. Look, we're all experts after the event, so we're not suggesting that Quansah comes on then, but there was certainly a discussion on both TV broadcasts on either side of the pond about potentially bringing on Jarell Quansah because Konate, not his fault, he gave everything he had, but he's just coming back from injury, and ultimately it's one of these things that you look back now and you're like, maybe if they'd done that, Liverpool would have won the game. What about the equalising goal, LME? Where's the blame here?
Well, and what you said, I think part of it, not enough protection as well. But it's also, I mean, we got to give some credit once again here to Amad Diallo. A 90th minute goal against Manchester City, and now scores another one here. And I think he's just a product of what's going on in terms of, you know, these players trying to learn their process under Ruben Amorim. But I think eventually, essentially, it's really because of being caught out. And it all begins with just saying, look, if we're 2-1 up, you know, what are we doing from this moment on? Because that 2-1 lead didn't exactly happen right after the second half. There was not that much long to go. And I think that's where Manchester United took advantage. And by the way, it's a microcosm of the entire game. It's not like at any point did you think, you know, Liverpool now are in full control. We thought that because of what we have seen from Liverpool this season, but at no point did it happen, right? It didn't happen when they equalized, and it didn't happen, of course, as we're talking, when Salah scored the penalty right after. So, you know, listen, like, and we'll be obviously criticizing a lot of Manchester United, and rightly so, but today they listened and they paid attention and they never gave up. And it's really a testament to some of those players that really wanted to make sure that they wanted to get something out of this game. And Anfield, and Amad Diallo, to me, is the headliner there, because since Amorim has arrived, he has done everything that the Portuguese manager has asked him to do.
Look, they've set the bar now.
By the way,
Manchester United. You can't just suddenly put a performance like that, and they were excellent today, United. You can't just play like that against Liverpool and then go back to the Bournemouth or the Newcastle Old Trafford performances. That's the issue that Man United have now got, and Amorim's now got. He just says to his players, look, this is what you did at Anfield. Let's do more of it now.
Yeah. And by the way, Mark Donaldson, like, there was a moment in the first half that we haven't talked about yet that, you know, and rightly so, because really it was all about the second half. But had United, you know, when Rasmus Højlund was 1-on-1 with Alisson, you know, if United had a better striker, could we have said here, okay, maybe it's, you know, so I think that's a conversation to have in what United want and can do in the transfer window. If they're able to get somebody at least that can help. Xerxes, again, didn't really provide that much. I know that
provided an assist for Harry Maguire right at the end. That would have been not the ultimate redemption story, but that would have been quite the tale. And Liverpool fans will go home frustrated. Man United fans will probably go home happy and content, because they certainly would have taken a point before the game started. But will some of them think, you know what, we should have had all three, because it's probably the wrong player in the right place when it falls to Harry Maguire right at the end, and he does what most centre-backs would probably do there and slams it over. How are you feeling if you're a Man United fan? You take the point, or do you are you more, well, we could have had all three?
Yeah, you take it. Of course, you could have had it, but you take it, right? I mean, as I said, I can't believe I'm finding myself here sort of like defending Manchester United in a way. But I mean, I didn't have an expectation of that sort of a game, because, as I've said again, it wasn't just a defensive one. The first half is not a coincidence, right? It is not. I mean, they defended in numbers when they had to, Manchester United. They held possession when they had to as well, and they countered. Now, up until that Højlund chance that Alemi was talking about, they didn't have really anything of to mention. Fair play, but I think they just did enough to set themselves up for a game. That's the idea, right? I mean, I heard Gary Neville before, and we all said that before, right? When you go to Anfield, first 20 minutes is very important. Then you wait for those lulls in the game, right? We always say that, but it's not always easy to do it, because you have to set the game up for yourself. And Liverpool tried to do that as well, and this is their strength. And Manchester United disrupted that but also played enough that there was never flow or tempo that Liverpool want to play. So in the end, chances, as Gab mentioned, there are a couple of chances where Liverpool could have put that away. That Jota, I think, right, that was Jota's strike, and then Bradley, I think Gab was talking about the header from Van Dijk, and then Maguire. But ultimately, I think this is obviously a big result for Manchester United. Now, for Liverpool, not the end of the day. As I've said, you look at the table, you say, you're fine. It is Manchester United. It is a different sort of game when you meet them. But I just think that normally they win that game, and now they're looking at a bigger cushion where they can, as Gab said, maybe rotate more in cups. Champions League is coming up, and the situation would have been much, much easier with Arsenal and Chelsea dropping points.
I'm going to give the final word to Gab Marcotti, because it's always nice to have him on the show. And it's not so much a right to reply, but it's a please reply to something that Roy Keane said at halftime on Sky Sports when he was asked about how Trent Alexander-Arnold was performing. And this is the quote. There's talk about him going to Real Madrid. To me, after this, he's going to Tranmere Rovers. Final word with Gab Marcotti.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's so easy. It's an open goal, right? Pick on Trent. It's funny because when maybe it's too many years of living in England that like I take it for granted, right? That when look, the player sucks defensively, so that's somehow much worse than the player who's out there and actually can't play football and can't give you anything on offense, right? I mean, I'm really, really simplifying it. I've had years of watching Stuart McCall, all these other like Neil Ruddock, all these troglodytes that like he would probably say, "Oh, look, he's got heart," right? But all these guys couldn't play, right? And now you have a guy who can play. The man is not a right back. It's just it's a broader issue with when we talk about right back, and I hear these guys saying things like, "Oh, well, your first job as a right back is you're a defender. You need to defend." I'm like, no, that's not how football works. There are defensive right backs, defensive fullbacks, and there's attacking ones. And ideally, you want somebody who's good at both. This guy is obviously not good at both. He's worked with some of the best coaches in the world for a long, long time to try to get him to be good in both aspects of the game. Why don't we just accept him for what he is? Janusz mentioned all the attacking stuff that he offers, and we've all seen. And you come up with a way of playing that compensates for that, right? The old 3.5, right, system. Or you try to do what Klopp did, moving him in midfield on the ball and making adjustments. Whatever you want to do. But let's not go and like burn him at the stake like he's committed some massive moral sin because he makes defensive errors. He often makes these defensive errors. He made more of them today. I might also add that, Manchester United played really, really well in this game. And if I can come back on two little Manchester United points. One is almost like a little apology. I think I would say Harry Maguire is the most mocked Manchester United defender in recent history, if not for the existence of Phil Jones. So he's probably second, right? But the amount of crap that this guy has had to put up with because he didn't live up to his transfer fee, because he doesn't live up to his salary. They tried every which way to get rid of him. And in the end, playing his way back in, and Ruben Amorim saying, all right, you're out of contract. You know what? Prove to me that we're wrong. Prove to me that you can stay. Prove to me you can contribute. And he kept the door open for him. And this guy was there. And this guy, we can mock him for his finish in the final minute, but equally, he's a center back who's like, legged it 80 yards to be in that position to score. I think we need to give Harry Maguire some credit, or a lot of credit actually, because it's not easy when you really are the butt of all jokes to go and play yourself. He could have just sat there, counted his money, waited for his contract to wind down, signed some other, big contract as a free agent with some Muppet Show team with more money than sense in mid-table, and then waited for his retirement. He could have done that. He has not chosen that path. That is a credit to Harry Maguire. And final point on my boy Rasmus Højlund. Alami, he's a young player. He's in his second season. He's had his injuries. Don't pick on him. Maybe not good enough to be a great Manchester United center forward, but who's the last great Manchester United center forward that we remember, not named with the exception of Zlatan, because he's kind of his own thing? you got to go back a long, long way. You got to go back to Van Persie, unless there's somebody I'm forgetting, right? So he's young. He's learning a new system. He has a rotating cast of characters around him. He's probably not as smart as Amad Diallo tactically in terms of learning the game and stuff. He'll get there. You can't ditch the Højlund experiment, given what they paid for him after just 18 months, I think.
Well, I mean, I know he has the last word, and God forbid he doesn't speak because he doesn't have a show during the week to talk about this stuff. But come on. I mean, are you serious right now? Like, the only thing I'll say about Rasmus Højlund is I didn't say to ditch him. I said that Manchester United should probably think about other options, especially if they can, in one way or another, disperse Marcus Rashford's contract. If there's a swap for Victor Osimhen, and by the way, speaking of Victor Osimhen, he was a choice before Højlund, and he wasn't selected by Manchester United. So I think that it's not even about Højlund. It's about the fact that had another striker done the business in that moment against Alisson, and the answer is yes.
Oh, boy.
There's a lot of last words here. Janusz, you want it? Well, last words from you.
The compensation for Trent, just to finish that. I like that, Gab. You have to compensate. Let's not forget. I'm going to defend Trent. Just so we know, Liverpool are top of the Premier League and the Champions League, right? You take the good with the bad, and today was a bad day for him, and it hasn't been all that bad, right? You don't get there while having a terrible right back like Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm joking. In terms of number 9s, I mean, look, if it's not for Mo Salah, and who knows, just say he leaves, Liverpool needs a number 9 too, right? It's not just Manchester United because they don't have one. Neither Darwin Núñez or Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz doing a decent job in terms of scoring, but both teams need a number 9. And I'm with you, Gab, because I think he deserves a chance. But they'll be looking.
Okay. 36 minutes have come and gone in the blink of an eye, and there is a vacancy for president of the Trent Alexander-Arnold fan club because Gav's given it up. He's now with Harry Maguire. So, Janusz, you can be.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We've all been in that. Trent. That's a good point.
It's been one of those days. It was a brilliant second half to watch. We didn't know what was going to happen. Man United have finally scored their first goal at Anfield since Jesse Lingard. However, they were unable to get all 3 points because Gab's favourite, Harry Maguire, couldn't score from 10 yards out. The reason I wanted Gab to have the last word, because I always think it's very difficult to follow someone that utilises the word troglodyte in ESPN FC Live. So I'm going to leave you with the meaning of troglodyte, a person who lived in a cave, especially in prehistoric times. The word comes from the Greek words troglo, meaning hole, and dien, meaning to dive into. We've dived into this for over 30 minutes. Thank you to Gab. Thank you to Janusz. Thank you to LME. I'll have the final word. It could have been Harry Maguire, though. Liverpool 2, Man United 2. Bye for now.